Hello and welcome to another ED-SKaR live stream, which I believe is currently working. Sure, why not? So today I am looking at the worker Hurricane and pulling it apart and doing some bits for it. This is part 2 of my kind of ergonomic section for the worker Hurricane. Part 1 hasn't been released yet, so you know, time travel and stuff, that's all very helpful. So where do I begin? I think I begin with the trigger, actually, because that's probably the easiest thing, and I want to start with something easy. Let's bring this camera over and have a look at what I'm looking at. So as I've mentioned many times, the length of pull is... hello, Spamatron. Let me just move my chat so I can actually see it. There you go. Hi, how you doing? Right, so firstly the trigger. I keep on talking about length of pull and how from the back surface here to the break point of the trigger when the trigger is pulled, this is a very important distance. Now the worker Hurricane is a lot further forward than most Hasbro Nerf guns and a lot of toy guns in general, because a lot of these are built for kids' hands and are smaller. But this one's a little bit further forward than most, but it's not quite enough for me because I have like bare hands or something. You're on a generator. That's, well, hopefully the main power comes back for you at some point. So I'm not going to remove the pusher, I think, yet. Or am I? I think I lied. I am immediately going to try and pull that out. I don't have my pliers with me, which would make that a lot easier. I don't have a decent pin punch set. Something that I very rarely do, but having the right tool is sometimes very helpful. I think I'll start with the side profile. That's probably the best place to start. Is that about right? Yeah. And 20 to the bottom, 20 from the lower surface there. So is there anything that interacts up at the top? Doesn't look it, just the pusher lever itself. Yeah, I am definitely a nerd. Hi Alice, hey, I haven't started. I will eventually go to Fusion, I just haven't got around to it yet. If the certain people would release tutorial videos on how to use certain software, that would make it easier for normal mortal humans like me to make the transition to better pieces of software. Yeah, don't drop it. It's kind of 3. It is centered around the origin. This is my origin. This is where I started. No relevance to the part itself. just a point of the part that I can start work from. Everything is very handly in nice millimeters because it's built in metric, which I approve of. And in fact, that is rather handily that. Fine, whatever. And that just goes down to the base, which should be, and is, exactly 10. Marvellous. I did that right. And if this works as well, which it does, convenient. I'm doing this in a really messy way. I'll suffer it. So I also need the peg for the spring. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I drew this line by making a parallel line to this one. Therefore, it has to be parallel. And every other line is on the grid, so yeah, it is. It's okay, you can design a replacement. I am still a monster. I've been called Sully for many years. Yeah, close enough. Too late. Right, so that pin is 1.94. So just shy of 2 mil. My printer on circles I'm going to make that 2.2. Be centered. Be centered, young my friend. Why is that not? Yeah, fine, whatever. I really should make these as construction lines so that I don't have to delete them, but yeah, I'm totally good at this. So the trigger surface is actually in line with the front here. And I want to move it forwards. So how does it fit into... Hey, my parts come out working. Your parts come out better and prettier. Like, teach me, senpai. So if I can, let's actually show you what I'm looking at here. Let's get a pokey thing. So this front surface of the trigger here, I've already got modelled up there. And I need to keep that because at the front of the trigger travel, you can see there, it's inside the main part of the shell. So I need to come off an offset all the way down to here, to this part of the shell. And then I can build the trigger surface in front of that because this is all a straight. So I've got plenty of room here to move the trigger surface forward so long as I keep below this line. Yeah, her half parts work better than my completed products. It's quite unfair. Quite unfair. As I was saying, so the offset here should be, and how do I get into that to measure it? I mean, it's 4.5 mil, I know, but how do I measure that properly? It's actually not 4.5, it's 4 and something. You know what, I'm just going to make a 5 mil offset, which means there'll be a little bit of a gap, but it'll be a very, very small gap. So I'm going to go to there. Now, I measured earlier by cheating and doing it off camera that the distance that I want to go to is 10 millimeters in front of the actual surface of the trigger. Unfortunately, the trigger guard isn't quite big enough for that, so I think I can go so there's enough room here for a finger and a bit extra. Stop giggling in the back, please. So if I move the front surface of the trigger forwards a bit, which is the whole point of this, there's still going to be plenty of space. 10 millimeters further forward means that there's not enough space to actually get a good grip on the trigger with your trigger finger. So I'm going to try 7.5 mil, and I'm also going to try. I've been around you guys too much. You've ruined my sense of humor. So I'm going to try a 7.5 and a 5 mil. Print those both out and test them and see kind of which I prefer. Yeah, so from there, now I think I've actually got the way that this, I was just about to say that I've got plenty of space and I can do just about whatever shape I want, but it's not entirely true, because at the rear part of the trigger travel, the lowest part of the trigger here would interact with this. Now I'm moving that forwards, but I can't make it a completely solid piece because then it would get in the way of that. What I could do, because I don't particularly care about the aesthetic, and yes, I know Alice is going to have a heart attack when I say stuff like that, because I don't particularly care about the aesthetic of the trigger, having a solid kind of solid block trigger rather than the kind of firearm mimic trigger is not something I particularly care about, so I can just block out the whole thing. It will be stronger, easier to print, and not as pretty. Exactly. Right. So first of all, let's go with... Oi. What? Why won't you let me use what I've measured? Why won't you let me use what I've measured? Let me use... Fine. What was that? It was 5, I said, wasn't it? So let's try a 5mm extension first. And cut it off there. So here I want to have a nice curve. How far? I keep putting my tools down and then not being able to find them again. So from the top, the very top to the very bottom of the trigger is 27.88, 28mm. Hey, let's use a construction line. Let's actually do it properly. Wow. No, you're fine where you are. Like, not harassing and annoying. That's not what I wanted at all. What did I want? What am I trying to achieve here? I can't remember. A trigger, obviously. Ah, that's loud. Why is that so loud?
I don't know.
Hey Alice, how you doing?
What?
Hi, how are you doing? Say hello to the one person who's watching my chat, which is
hello.
you.
I'm Alice Coatduck. I harass ED-SKaR.
This is true. You know, I'm just going to cheat that. That works. Why is that not connected? Why? I'm sure I started on that. Can you?
What have you called me on?
Can you?
Like what?
Discord.
Because I think your audio is coming through a weird source.
I have several microphones plugged into my computer at the moment. I've thought I had disabled them, so does that work? That works.
Yeah, I can kind of hear you.
Okay, there is one other person in the chat, Spamatron, who is in quite a few of my live streams actually, and gives very, very good ideas. Usually in a kind of a, hey, I bet you can't do this, goading style fashion, which I kind of approve of.
Hey, you should the spline on the bottom of your trigger. You should bring it all the way up to the top, so that you can make the the front face of the trigger a little wider.
Wider? I mean,
well, how wide is the trigger body? Is it wide?
It's I'm just measuring that. It's just shy of 8mm.
8mm thick?
Yeah, it's huge. Like, there's quite a few design choices in this thing that I actually really like.
Shit, I just picked mine up. You're right. Okay,
yeah.
Well.
Yeah, that kind of trigger surface on that is, like, really nice.
I mean, you know, I would put like because you got a block behind the thing, you know, I would put some sort of like fancy swirl there that would give you all the strength of the block.
Fancy swells.
You piss. I can see you laughing. I can't hear it, but I can see it.
I am, yes, laughing. Definitely laughing is happening.
Are you going to put anything on there, or is that just going to be a block? She says in the most judgy way humanly possible.
Hey, who's making this thing?
I mean, I guess.
You want, like...
I watched that fillet. I watched the shame cross your face as you entered that fillet radius.
Yes, it's far too much. I want to get this. Why is that? Oh, that's why that's. Right, I get it.
So, what's the purpose of this trigger? Is it just moving it forward, or are you doing anything else to it?
Of course it's just moving it forwards. Like, why else would I change a trigger?
Well, you could change it to be a little more half-dart friendly while you're at it. But then again, you'd probably just only modify the actual throw arm lever thing.
I think that it's far easier to modify the magazine. So that,
like a pusher in it, and then you could swap back between.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. I kind of have two ideas, and I haven't really thought them through yet, so we'll see how that goes. But it's either making a... I can't remember who it was that did it for the mag adapter for katanas and talons, so that you have an extension to the pusher attached to the magazine adapter, and you, as you slide it in, you hold the pusher forward so that it connects, and then you can just remove the adapter and go back to normal mags. It's that kind of thing, but not an adapter. It would actually be inside the magazine, so you'd have this kind of humped sort of magazine where you've got a rotary section, half rotary section at the front, and then the back would be kind of cut away because all it needs is the pusher extension.
If you were going to design a new magazine for it, might I suggest the block that holds the darts in place? Like, you know, the one I'm talking about, the one that prevents it from rotating while there's darts in there?
Yeah, the little tab.
I would put that in the center of rotary thing.
I would make that
and have a little bit of a cutout, and then have the tab be shaped to cup the dart as opposed to just.
I'm going to go like a step further, and I'm actually using some of the design of the other rotary magazine that I've looked at recently, and that tab.
Oh my god.
I'm not really sure what you said there, but.
Oh, I was gasping because you're using something from the dollar.
Yeah, the £5 crossbow that came from Poundland, because they don't understand that a shop that's called Poundland sells things that's £1, not 5. I'm not mad.
Tell you what.
I am actually.
Tell
mad.
you what, a shop that's called Poundland.
See, I almost know exactly what you're saying, but I'm quite glad that your mic is cutting out so heavily because I don't have to hear it.
Oh, I was making fun of the fact that the shop is named Pound.
Our currency is called the pound. It's like if you go to America or Canada, you have Dollar Store. If you go to Japan, you have Yen World. Or whatever the equivalent is in the Japanese language. I don't know if we actually have anything called the Dollar Store. I think it's all like Dollarama and Dollar General and Dollarville or whatever the fuck.
but none of those elicit sexual connotations. So clearly, we're a step behind. If you'll pardon the pun.
I'm trying to ignore the puns so that I can get on with working.
I was going to call you a casual, but by definition, that's you not a casual.
Well, obviously I'm not in Fusion 360, so I can't be a pro, right? Am I right?
I'm telling you, if you go over to Fusion, you can. I'll send you some of my Fusion files.
I will go over to Fusion. It's just that I need to actually learn how to use Fusion to use Fusion, and I kind of jumped into this.
Different.
I mean, I know it's not, and it's also probably closer to what I was trained on, because I was trained on Autodesk Inventor. So the UI is probably closer to what I was trained on than what I'm actually using.
Honestly, going between different design software, the thing that throws me off the most is the keybinds from, like in 3ds Max, hold right or hold middle click in order to rotate or something, and in like ZBrush, in order to rotate around the part, you have to hit shift, then middle click, then let go of shift, and then rotate your part or something. And it's
it's so true. Between DSM, Cura, the Windows STL view or whatever it's called, and also the proprietary M3D software, there are 4 completely different ways of rotating the view and rotating the part.
Oh, for the record, I wasn't kidding or exaggerating about ZBrush. You actually have to press and hold, or you have to press a key, press another key, then let go of the first key in order to rotate. I don't remember what the keybinds are exactly, but it's fucking obnoxious.
That sounds like Gothic. You ever played Gothic? That control system is... The computer game called Gothic.
Is that something I've never heard of, or are we talking about, like, architecture?
No, the computer game series called Gothic, which had the wonderful idea... The very first game in the series, I don't know when it was, but it was kind of mid-90s, maybe even early 90s, in a time when we hadn't, like, as a gaming community, gamers hadn't really worked out the correct way to control a character with a sword. Now, generally speaking, you move the mouse to change the direction of the character, and you click the mouse button to swing the sword, and that's all very nice, and we've worked that out now. But back then, it wasn't so well known. So Gothic came up with the wonderful idea that you have a button to take out your sword and put it away. However, to get out your sword and keep it out, you have to hold that button down. Now, while you've got the sword out, your feet are rooted to the spot, so you cannot run, move, walk, or turn. So you're stuck. Get out your sword, you can hit in front of you. If your enemy moves to the side, which they always do, you have to put your sword away, turn, get the sword back out.
How fucking exceptionally cursed.
I have played all of the Gothic series. In Gothic 1, I have never killed an enemy. I played it for 4 or 5 hours, didn't kill a single enemy. Gothic 2, basically the same story. Gothic 3, they changed the control system to a more traditional, a more recognisable modern gaming control system for that type of game, and I completed it eventually. It was still hard. It was actually really interesting. Hi, Sir Tidepod. Welcome to the madness.
That sounds fucking horrendous, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I eventually will find a game that controls worse than that, but I haven't found it yet.
I hope to be dead by then. The front face of your trigger isn't rounded at all. I assume you intend to round it at some point.
What? Here.
It would take a second for it to. It's gonna.
Which is why I'm waiting on that point until you've seen it.
Okay, there's clearly more delay than I. Yes, that line there. Now I don't know if.
Hello, OC Nerf. OC Nerf says that you don't sound like me, which is probably makes a lot of sense, given that you're not me.
I probably don't. I mean, my voice is a little deeper than yours, you know, the usual. But yeah, does your design software do chain select, and then can you turn off chain select? Because I noticed you put a little tiny fillet on the top. And if you can't do chain select, then, or if you can't undo chain select, then you're kind of fucked.
See, this software, I think you've seen it before, actually. There are times when it will quite happily run a fillet around any surface, kind of complex curves and whatever, it will just do it and it'll be fine. And then there are times when it just throws a hissy fit, wets the bed, and doesn't have a clue anything and just dies. Sometimes,
I have to be honest, Fusion is like that too. If you're hoping to upgrade to Fusion to get rid of that, it's not going to help.
So,
or it might happen less or more. I don't know.
If you noticed, I just ran a cheeky save because I'm about to run that very dangerous fillet. It's just not happening.
Oh, like when it crashes when you.
Oh, it can do.
That's impressive. Okay, well, Fusion is better at that. I'll give you.
Okay, so I got rid of the fillets at the top and bottom, and it survived.
Is that enough fillet for you?
Yeah, I want to have a mostly flat front surface. I'm worried that this is too much of a curve from the side profile. Well, the trigger position, like the finger position, is going to be on the lower. Hang on, let me go back to it. Just double check.
God, if you want to see a horrible trigger design,
Boomco M6.
What?
Boomco M6.
Oh, Boomtendo's in chat. You're about to get a new asshole.
No. Oh, hi, Boomtendo. I didn't see you there. Boomtendo likes the ammo, right? So I have nothing bad to say about the ammo. Boom straws are great. But that thing's trigger. And the... what's the Nerf one with the 3 elites and the 3 megas? Double shot, dual strike, double strike, dual shot. It's one of those. Pick one. That thing has...
So cool.
Hey,
it's okay.
Explain to me Hasbro's naming system. Boomtendo says it's the dual strike, and so I'll assume he's correct. That one has a horrific trigger. So
I was actually just going to.
For me, my trigger finger ends up on the I can't really show it on this like that. Maybe I'm trying to get a good camera angle and it's just not working. But my trigger finger ends up low on the trigger. So what I've created on screen here, this lower part is where the flat is. So curved at the bottom. Yeah. I think that's going to work quite well.
I have. Do you remember the ERTL pump action shotgun?
I have never seen one in person, but I have seen videos on it.
You know the trigger?
No.
It's shaped like a banana, like a cartoon banana. It's quite horrendous, and somehow I managed to design a trigger that was ergonomic worse. To be fair, it was the first trigger I ever designed, but it was significantly worse.
So I just looked up the Ertl to get... That's not how triggers... Oh boy, that's not how triggers work. Okay.
I also want to find a picture now, just because I think you'll find it fucking funny.
Of your trigger? That would be...
Yeah, because it's worse than that.
How? Apparently I would love the pass trigger. You're gonna have to help me out with what pass means, Boomtendo. Oh, was that the pump action shotgun?
I think that was the one you just looked up.
No, because I looked up the Ertl.
That's that's the same thing.
Oh, is it the same thing? Right.
Yeah. ERTL is...
Okay, I have learned something here.
Fucking hell, Imgur, get your shit together.
Everyone in the chat is laughing at my never having heard of these archaic toy guns. A civilized toy from a civilized time. Now, see, I'm pretty sure that there's one of the features on the trigger that I'm pretty sure is completely irrelevant.
I posted a link to my trigger in chat. I actually think it might be better. I mean, it's not a high bar, but maybe a little bit of an...
No, yours is definitely better in that. Does it move... It rotates, right? Rather than moving straight back.
Yeah, and the pivot point is behind the just because that's how the pump action gun works. So it's got a hook thick.
That kind of explains why they made it the shape they did. But yeah, the problem
I still have that thing.
Problem with yours is that you'll be pulling. Where's the grip? Where'd you put your fingers on that thing?
I cut my grip off and replaced it with a like a recon.
Yeah, that's a massive improvement.
Yeah, and now it has a stock attachment point. But I think I picked that up. I think I picked up 2 of them for like 80 cents each or something.
Fair enough.
It was a good deal.
I have spent more on toy guns that I know for a fact that I will never use. This is the cheapest thing that I've ever had. Apparently,
oh my God.
Nintendo are also bad at ergonomics. Alice?
I feel like the zapper doesn't completely flip it awful.
Actually, yeah, I remember looking at that and thinking it's better than the average Nerf gun. Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah, the front strap is just a straight line, which I know that you like, even though I think it's like crap.
Well, I hate having the pinky finger moved forwards. It's just... It means that you can't get a good grip on the front strap because your knuckles end up rotated forwards, which is why firearms don't have a grip like that. Never, nor air rifles. Yeah, that's got a massive massive heel, flat front strap. I think the web is a little bit small, but again, it's for different age groups, so that's probably why. Triggers further forwards. Yeah, overall the Zapper is passable. Yeah. We're getting sidetracked. I'm supposed to be designing a trigger. I think I'm actually done here.
It looks just about done, although I would throw a fillet on the base of the spring rest.
That is a good shout.
What?
Good shout. Actually, even one at the top as well. Now to decide which way to print it. I'm very tempted to split it in two and print it from the inside. But I think it
yeah.
I think it would print fairly well upside down, which in a few seconds you will see. You'll end up with a lot of support material inside the hinge for the pusher, but that can be cleaned out. In fact, yeah, just from that angle with a file, that would be really easy to clean out. Yeah, I'm gonna.
If you were gonna do it that way, I would suggest that you knock out the corner. So, like on your tab that interfaces with the slidey shit, yeah. And that'd be easier to get a file. It wouldn't be terribly difficult. It would just make it a little.
I would be quite happy to destroy that with the file as I went in for the... But yeah, having that cut out would be... How do I convince this to work without throwing a hissy fit? Where is the pull direction? Yep, that didn't work.
Oh, my fucking jaw is still sore from yesterday when it got a needle shoved in it like 9 times. God damn.
There we go. That's how it's done. So yeah, that lets you get in with the file really easily. Clean up the insides. And also kind of cleaning the bottom of that to, well, top of that. So that the spring doesn't bind on it. Actually, what is the radius of that? 2.2. Where is the trigger spring? So the idea of the spring is 5. Okay, there's plenty of clearance there. Off. Yep, done with that. Alright, moving on to the next piece. Which is backstrap, sights, mag carrier, battery door. Yeah, I'll do the backstrap. That really needs to be done. I can do this with it screwed together.
Oh man, remember when I made an awesome video on air tanks that I never finished or released?
No. I do not remember this. The only thing I know of you doing anything with pneumatics was that slime ball launching thing with... I can't remember who you did that video with.
Butt Daddy.
That was the one. Right, so first of all, let's build the profile of... What's the grip angle? I don't even know what the grip angle is of this.
What are you cackling at?
Do you remember how I kept crying about, 120 degrees or 118 degrees, that kind of area, and quite specifically not 110 because that's not enough? And I picked this up and I'm like, this feels really comfortable with a few changes. This is 120 degree grip angle. The front strap is bang on 120.
How are you measuring that? Do you have one of those fancy angle finders, or do you just have a cheap protractor?
From Poundland, back to school section. It's even got a crack in it because it wouldn't be a real one without a crack in it.
Yep, that's accurate. I don't even have one of those. I actually considered printing off a couple of different wedge shapes that I had the angles printed on and using them kind of like gate. But
it's sort of,
I never got around.
Maybe 115. This isn't exactly the most precise tool. It's somewhere between 115 and 120.
I was actually considering going for a longboard today and getting a digital angle finder, because I do enough shit where I spend enough goddamn time working on my...
Yeah.
I do enough through the...
It's something I've been loosely considering as well. Is that? That's interesting. I need something that's more accurately round, like the protractor. That kind of changes the way I'm going to design grips from now on. That works really well.
Just gonna laugh at you.
So, what? For the sake of people who aren't in my head and reading my minds, that's a terrible angle, and I'm mucking around. The back curve of the grip, profiled from the bottom. There's a flat. Can I get that to show up? No. Sort of there, that shiny line. There's a flat down this very back of the grip, and actually the front as well. But then the curves, the radiuses here, are true radiuses. They're not compound curves or complex curves. They're just like circles, which makes it very, very easy to design. And having that flat in the middle makes it fit the hand. See, I want to know who designed this that Worker stole it from, because I don't believe Worker are capable of designing something this good.
Actually, there's videos from 3 or 4 years ago of somebody with that blaster that's a homemade version of that.
Yes, but does that have the ergonomic points that I'm pointing out.
I know.
I just measured something and I immediately forgot it. I don't even know what I was I was measuring that. It would be very hard to tell from the video, 12 millimeters, if this worker version copied the ergonomics as well from that. Can I? No. So if I draw yeah, it is. That matches. Interesting. All right, then.
To answer your question, no, it's not quite the same. It's very similar, but... I mean, unless I'm misunderstanding something, it's just a rectangle with filleted edges, not? Or am
I mean, it is a rectangle with filleted edges, corners, but the fillets are correct. If I had a 1911 to hand, which unsurprisingly I do, although it's a bright yellow one, the grip of this is very much a rectangle with filleted corners. Maybe that's why I like it so much.
I mean, I guess.
I'm tempted to do a video on the 1911 because I have 7 or 8 of them, varying from very nice airsoft ones to complete trash like that. So that's the inside surface. How much?
Also, for the record, the guy that did the Hurricane first also did a blaster. Is almost exactly the
Oh, the double stack mag, yeah.
Yeah, like the double stack mag, and it's actually got a pretty decent front end on it too that looks like it could hold 3.
Hey, Azad. RZ. RZ. How you doing?
Here is it.
I am still alive. Beyond that, I have no idea.
That makes one of us.
And Zombie Alice has joined us as well.
I'm glad you went for zombie. It occurred to me after saying it that you might go for vampire, and I just don't want that sort of association.
I was tempted, but I'm not that mean. I mean, I am that mean, but I'm not that mean. Oh, no. Definitely not. RZ's come up with the new catchphrase for your channel. That's totally what I wanted. Should I be... Actually, yeah, if I just... Okay, that is what I wanted. So the highest point needs to go there.
Oh, piss off, RZ.
She saw it.
Ah, my spamp is almost done printing.
I don't think I've ever seen a Foxfire, Ionfire, or whatever the other similar one is.
What?
The Spamf is built on the Accufire?
Falcon Fire.
Falconfire. I've never seen one.
That's not fucking true. I know for a fact you've seen one, because you told me earlier you'd seen one.
Right, yeah, okay. So I've seen the prototype Spamf, which was based on a... That's the only time I've ever seen a Falconfire, I think. Maybe that's not true either. Maybe I just have a really bad memory. I can't remember, you see. See, why am I doing it that way? I should be doing it. So that's my highest point. So what happens if I just do that? Yeah, that doesn't work.
My barrel's almost done printing, so. What are you designing for the Hurricane now?
This is the backstrap kind of bump to fill. I realise I didn't actually explain this, which is what I usually do. It's usually all I do is explain things. I never actually do anything. That's why I'm having so much trouble today.
Why is it so small?
Well, because it only needs to be so small. Right. With the grip like this, I need a third hand to also point. That's very difficult. Here, there is the muscle of my thumb, which comes further forward than here, the heel of the hand, which means that a grip should be further back here where it touches the heel of the hand than here where it touches the muscle of the thumb. So what I'm designing is just a filler piece to go in here. I need a third hand. Is just a filler piece to bring the back strap further back so that it actually touches my hand all of the way around. Well, kind of more like in here. In fact, if I bring back the bright yellow 1911, like that. Oh, good grief!
You've got the profile of the tube modeled, right? Oh, okay, I see. All right, on your photo 911. Okay.
So when I hold this, you can see that this is now touching my hand all of the way around. And if I was holding it in
Can you do me a favor and look at the top view of that? Like what you have.
Like that. And now I've got wires tangled and...
Why is it double?
Why is what double? What?
It's curved. Maybe I'm not understanding. Oh, okay, all right, fine.
So I'll explain this, and hopefully within like 30 seconds you'll understand where I'm coming from. This sketch at the bottom is the profile of the grip of the Hurricane. On the outside of the grip, because I'm gluing a piece to the outside of the grip, on the outside of that, I have built the inside line here to match it so I can glue it on. And then I've just built a box because I want to carve into it. That's why this inner surface is like that. So from the side, I am then trying to draw in the profile so that I can cut it away to get the right shape for my palm, which I think I now have.
Is it not a little narrow? Like the bump? Wouldn't you want it a little?
I can change that later on. Also, if I end up doing doing it with the 3D pen, I will fill in that anyway. .3D pens are great, by the way.
Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to get one, but mostly I do my gap filling with not.
Between a 3D pen with ABS and the solvent weld, I think I can do just entire projects just with that. And granted, there are times when other tools are better for the job, but I think that just with those two tools, you can do a passable attempt at just about everything. Right, so let's cut this through and see how bad it looks.
You know what I should do is, when I come to the UK, and I will at some point, I should bring you some good Canadian CA glue.
Okay, everyone in the chat, you are my witness here. Alice just threatened to poison me. You know I'm allergic to that stuff, Alice.
Are you allergic, or do you just suck at it?
Yes. Don't do that. Yeah, RZ's got the right idea. How? Right, so this part is completely symmetrical at this point because of how I built it. And yet, what on earth? Okay, maybe that's why. Nope. It's letting me fill it one side, but not the other.
Oh, it's because your spline went outside the bounds of your box, so it's considering it two different areas, and despite the fact that it's very smooth, it's not smooth enough.
Yeah, but it's working on the opposite side. Look, it works there. Although it doesn't work how I want it to.
Yeah, you have to redefine your spline there.
Yeah, I have no idea how to do that in this software.
Step 1, get good.
Step 1.
Do you have a timeline in this software, or is it just like you do a thing and it's done?
Yeah, that's the one thing I really miss from Autodesk Inventor is having a timeline.
Yeah, okay, so you're fucked and you have to remake it.
No, I don't. I can work with this.
Before I used Fusion, I used which sounds juvenile, and to be honest, it was juvenile, but it was the free precursor to Fusion 360, so it was what all the cool kids used. But it didn't have a timeline, and I cannot tell you how many times, like, because when I designed my original flywheel cage, I did it in 3D. And I did probably 8 different versions of it. And whenever somebody was like, oh, you should change the crush to this...
Ha!
level,
I am the carbon-based life form. Deal with it. I made it work. That was a hell of a workaround. For anyone who wasn't paying attention, what I did is I extruded both sides by a tiny amount, which gave all of the lines a new base point. So they were then symmetrical, and because they had a new base point, it calculated afresh rather than being built from lots of different things, which means that it now has the ability to be filleted correctly.
Man, that was a disgusting way of going about that.
Hell yes, it was.
Okay, so question number 2. How are you going to print this?
Well, it has to be in 2 pieces because the shell separates down the middle of this.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Oh, that's much nicer. That's much nicer. Yeah, that's going to do it. Right, so I'm going to split this down the middle and then print it from the... Yeah, I'm going to print it through the split. From the split on each half.
Yeah, I redesigned my original flywheel cage 9 different times because I was experimenting with different kinds of crush, and you can't go in and modify something with a timeline. You have to make it from scratch again, and that fucking sucked. It's like if you want to move the barrel, it's like, guess what? You're making the whole fucking thing again. Super glue is the commercial, heavily modified, futzed with additives, whatever version of CA glue. And CA glue is just...
I'm just going to save before I do this because this is one of those things that's definitely going to wet the bed. Oh! That worked! Shh, good grief. Yes!
Yeah, it's... You can't get... Oh, you fucked up, Ed.
What did I do?
One of your fillets is funky. Also, did you just split that?
Yeah.
By taking a piece out of the...
Yes, Alice. Yes, I did.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Also, those aren't symmetrical. I hope you're aware.
I mean, they're not perfectly symmetrical. They're sort of roughly just about kind of close enough.
Boomtendo, super glue will do in a pinch, but generally speaking, it sucks compared. It's not. If you're in a pinch, you can go with. That's what sandpaper is for. What the fuck? What the fuck, guys? Why? You do know those fillets are wrong, right? Like,
How did they become so different?
I mean, if you wanted to bullshit it, what you could do is just delete the one that's wrong.
Delete one and then print a mirrored version of the other. Yeah, I know, but I don't know which one is wrong
Mirror it in software.
Which one is wrong? That's the question.
I would say the one with the smaller fillet, if for no other reason than the fact that it, because the fillet is so small and because of how the shape is, it sort of creeps up around this.
Yeah, I fixed it. No, I didn't. I nearly fixed it.
God laughing at you is...
No, I fixed it. That's legit. I fixed it.
Wait, so look at it from...
That's from the top. That's from the bottom. There. Yeah, I fixed it.
No, like from the side.
From the side? I mean,
yeah, that's
strictly speaking, this is the side. Z. And this is the inside. Z.
You're making this... Alright, spin it 180 from where it is right now. Oh, no, wrong.
The problem is, your instructions are coming to me 30 seconds after I've already moved away from what you're looking at.
That's a vagina.
Thanks for that, Alice.
I just watched the delayed reaction.
Moving on to something... Ah, good grief. We're done there. Spamatron is also done. We're done. Done is had.
That's funny. Oh, I can hear my printer doing slower moves, which means it's gotten down to layers that are small. It's slowing down each. I.e. my printer.
I miss that sound. I mean, I miss every sound from the printer. Because
maybe you should get a printer that doesn't... What fan...
It's the front fan on the gantry. So the hot end fan.
Oh, okay. So when you replaced it, did you get an upgrade or?
I got a I got a Creality branded one, which may have been a mistake.
Oh, nasty.
But I asked you what your opinion was on buying the right fan, and you were like, "Nah, it's fine. CR10 doesn't need a fan."
Was I really fucking high?
I don't know if you were high or just taking the piss out of me, but either way, you were not helpful.
Maybe I thought you were talking about the control box fan, which...
We also did discuss the control box fan, and you said that the CR10 does need a control box fan. Although I've gone from 2 to 1 fan in the control box, I can easily put the other one back in.
You're probably...
I've got this humongous fan that won't even fit in the control box, but that's not helpful.
Like, if you're doing something important, you know, if you're a kiddo that doesn't know what you're doing, don't listen to me, but if you're ED-SKaR, fuck around with things that catch fire all the time and stuff, yeah, it doesn't need it.
Look, none of my robots have caught fire yet. All right, none of them. That's my.
I was talking to Winston before, walking him through getting a. I didn't know he didn't already have a LiPo charger. So I was like, oh, you know, you can buy this battery, or I can bring you a battery. It's fine. And yeah, it was fun walking him through like LiPo safety and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, you know, there's always a chance that this could, you know, catch fire and explode violently, just for the record.
And that's why you keep it in an ammo can. And you always...
I don't. I keep it in a cardboard box because I have no value.
You know those LiPo-proof bags? I really hate when people refer to them as LiPo-proof bags. They're not LiPo-proof bags. They are LiPo-resistant bags. They have little ears, and I hate it when people fold those ears in when they're charging. That defeats the point completely. The whole point of those ears is that when that thing catches fire, you grab the thing by the ear and chuck it out the window. That's what they're for. Okay?
I didn't know that. I don't even have one of those.
Life lesson, everyone. That's what those ears are for.
I will remember that and then tell viewers on my stream, which is, you know, easily like 3 more people.
How many people are watching? I think none.
I'm glad you got it.
Right, so I think we've insulted everyone in the chat so far, so they've actually all left.
And by we, you mean...
Hey, you helped. Don't try and sneak out of it. I mean, you can sneak out of it.
No, I mean, I did. Me. I did all of it. You were very kind.
So apparently RZ Rider and Boontendo are insistently still here, even though we've insulted them repeatedly.
I don't think I've insulted. He's insulted me, though. That.
You see, this...
Oh, he asked how my Sharknado was, which is what I've chosen to call my Shapeoko. And it's fine. What were you laughing?
That's a level of pun right up there with my bullshit. It's like, seriously.
Are you laughing at me saying Sharknado or Gavin saying I left a while ago, I hate...
No, the Sharknado thing. Quite easily.
Ah, okay, well, fair enough. Actually, the pun gets worse the more you know about the project, because it has to be typed out for the full pun to take effect. But that would involve divulging secrets about my Sharknado that not everybody knows yet. Yeah, it's good. I machined one piece. The first ever piece I got off of it was more accurate than I could measure. And by extension, more accurate than any print I have ever made. So that's fun.
Hey, it's almost like it's a really nice piece of equipment. I'm tempted to make these RMR sites. As much as I really shouldn't. I should make them some low-profile dot sites. I'm really tempted to make just massive RMR-style irons.
I have no idea what that is.
RMR is a ruggedized micro red dot, I think, and it's the.
Oh Christ! I just googled.
Yeah.
Those are silly.
The iron sights that, like, for anyone in the chat, the iron sights that accompany a red dot sight are great big posts, because the way that you're supposed to use, kind of the modern teaching of using a red dot on a pistol, is that you throw the thing out, you look for the iron sights, and then by the time you've picked up the iron sights, you can see the dot. Then you ignore the iron sights and you follow the dot. So all the iron sights are there for are to guide you to the dot. And
that's really cool and kind of handy.
Yeah, and it's done like by the sports shooters, like the IPSC shooters. They do that in 1/10 of a second. It's absurd and amazing. I went on a training course recently, and I was using a Glock 19 but it was set up for the RMR, but it had the RMR removed because it was a fundamentals course. So I had these humongous, great big, just black, like barley corn sights basically, and no red dot. And I didn't have the nice, crisp, low profile white dot sights. I just had great big black shadows to roughly line up. I did fairly well, and I learned, which was the more important thing. But good grief, I would much rather have had just traditional Glock sights, or like even something low profile like the 1911, because I've used airsoft 1911 so much. How big should the... Can I please stop dropping everything on the floor? Good grief. The notch in the rear is only like 2 millimeters tall. That's quite... I'm surprised at that. So I've made that 2 mil. So if I make it another 2 mil... Bang. There we go.
So are you going to put one of these irons on the magazine itself?
No, I'm not going to. I had considered doing it that way. Because... Did you see my... Have I uploaded... Have I uploaded that? I don't even know if I... Okay, spoiler warning for a future ED-SKaR video. Or maybe a past one, because I can't remember what I've uploaded or not. But one thing I mentioned in a video when I was talking about reloading was that because the way that the magazine comes out is to pull it backwards to release it and then rolling it up, if you had some kind of iron sights on the back, you could slap it and it would kind of bring the magazine out. And I can't really show... Maybe if I can do it like this.
Clever.
So kind of just by pulling backwards on the top of the magazine, it lifts up like that. And then if you do that in a swift motion, the whole magazine comes flying out. And how did I do this camera? Good grief. However, I'm not doing that because, as
for the record, the mic that's... For the record, the mic that's running through for my, like, for the voice chat here is the one that you keep moving around.
On my fake GoPro.
So whenever you
Good
camera,
grief.
I just get scratching.
Hey,
for, like...
I can just do this and be really mean and just tap that camera, and you get horrible noises no one else does, because they have this beautiful condenser mic. Yeah, I won't do that anymore.
Yeah, I just unmuted the stream, and like I was getting ear blasting, horrible, scratchy sounds, and nobody else was hearing anything.
Can I be bothered to go through the maths of working out exactly how wide the front sight post and the rear notch need to be? Oh, see you later, Boomtendo. Has he gone? Yeah, he's gone. Boomco straws are rubbish. Quick, pass it around. I actually need to do some more with boom coat straws. The only thing I've ever done, I think, is the absolver for my drain blaster, the tread feather.
Well, they're currently on sale for like $6 for.
On your side of the planet, they are. On my side of the planet, they're not. They don't exist anymore.
If you cared that much, you could just order a bunch to my house and then pay me shipping to get them to you.
And then pay the exorbitant customs charges.
That's okay. We can trade, and you can send me your M3D that's horribly broken.
I would still have to pay the customs charges, which my out of darts order got hit by customs charges, and it's mostly parts for the 2-stage rapid strike, which means that my 2-stage rapid strike is now more expensive than all but one of my airsoft guns.
Fuckity yikes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That one beats it, by the way. I'm not sure if you can't really see it on ICS L86. Ridiculous piece of kit. It's like 10 kilos of steel. 10? Not 10. 5. Sorry. What am I doing? Oh yeah, sights. Good grief.
Oh yeah, I was gonna make fun of you because I just held up my my Hurricane and realized that the back strap of the Hurricane grip is not flat. It's got a big curve.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware of that.
Okay, you're just gonna say nuts.
It's something that I may have to like make a new version of it to get over that, or it might be something that I just put solvent weld on it and squish really hard and it will compress and be fine. However, it goes here, which is relatively straight, and the curve is from like this area here, so it might not even be a problem until I print it and find out. I won't be able to find out. So
you could avoid this problem entirely. Can you go back to your model?
No. Hold on. I just wanna point out just how the place where it's actually going is actually straight by using my calipers as a straight edge. Look, it's flat, and it curves there, but it's flat there. So that's not a problem for me.
But you could make it a shorter print and also make sure that there's not a problem if you shell it.
Well, it's not going to be a problem.
Just redesign the whole blaster. Easy. Who do you think he is, Razor? Me?
Well, no, if I was you doing it, then I'd be redesigning the neighbor's cat.
That is true. I did admit to you that I had thoughts in my mind about redesigning my teeth this morning.
That was the... Like, I wasn't sure if you'd just been up the whole night or whether you were on something very strange from the dentist.
From the dentist? No.
I mean, hey, if you've seen the dentist in Psychonauts, like, the dentist can be scary.
This dentist is fucking hilarious, honestly. My dad directed me towards this guy's his recommendation, and I mean, like, I had to have a tooth rebuilt, and the sedative didn't work, or not sedative, whatever freezing agent didn't work on me. So I felt the whole thing. So he had like a 1.5 mil stainless steel hardened burr buried in nerves, just spinning that shit up.
Ow. I'm gonna go with ow.
2 hours. For 2 hours, it was like that. And I didn't cry, but I was like involuntarily like sweating and shaking. And the entire time he was like holding my hand and telling me I was a hero, like I was a fucking. And to be honest, I needed it. Like, you don't put a drill bit into somebody's bones and with them completely conscious and able and like expect them to just be fine. But I told my dad about this, and I like sort of admitted like, oh yeah, he like held my hand, and it was really nice, and I needed it, honestly. And I could hear the shame in my father's voice when he responded, yeah, he does that for me.
Maybe there's some kind of hereditary thing where you're not, like you're immune to that particular type of sedative.
I don't know. Like, apparently it works for my dad, but yeah, no, that was just.
Let's see if, like, because I'm not entirely sure what I've been doing. Can I get something centered? Yeah, that works.
Did you measure the draft angle of the shell into that?
Yes. Did I not mention that?
You might have, but I might have been busy talking about unimportant shit at the time.
Okay, just in case I didn't mention it, for the sake of the chat. The top surface of the shell is not flat. It is angled, and each side is angled by 1 degree, which means from one side to the other there is a 2-degree offset. And I can even do kind of put the top surface on a table and just rock it.
Holy shit! I thought it was only like maybe like 0.25 or something.
No,
it's a whole fucking degree on either side.
Yeah, it's 1 degree on each side.
That's a pretty nasty draft.
It's so big.
Make them cheat.
It's so big that it has to be intentional. I'm imagining it's so that it comes out of the mold easier.
Yeah, that's what the draft. That's so it releases from an injector.
But it's on every surface at the front. Oh, good grief! What angle? That's more than 1 degree. Where's my... Oh no, maybe it isn't. No, that has to be... So it's somewhere in between 1 and 2 degrees. That this surface here, underneath the barrel, is more than 1 degree by a tiny bit. But it's not quite 2 degrees. Of course, I'm going on my super precise 3D printed gauges. So, perfect, definitely perfect measurements going on there. What was I doing? There we go. Do I want to go to the effort of making a light shield as well for it? I mean, it's a toy gun. It doesn't need a light shield. Good grief. What am I thinking? Yeah, that looks cool. Is that too much? Yeah, that's better. That's much better.
Oh, that looks good.
Right, now to cheat and make the front sight post, which really should be taller.
What are the dots for?
Well, depends on what you are going for, but filling with another material, either just plain white, like standard Glock sights have a white dot, so that you have a black block and a white dot. So if you're shooting at something that has a light target, like say a piece of paper, you see the big black box of each of the three sights. Whereas if you're shooting at a dark target, like say a steel plate that's painted black, you get the three white dots that show up very clearly. Contrast.
That makes sense.
You see, I should have done some testing with this to see just how tall I want my front sight. Not that sights are even remotely relevant for any of this, but the angle of the front here that I'm mounting the sights at, this is kind of a downward angle compared to the line of the flywheels. So having the sights flat on this surface means that the flywheels are pointed upwards, which is probably a good thing, because it means you get kind of like a point blank situation going on, where the dart will go above and then below your point of aim, which means you don't have to adjust your sights within a certain distance. Again, not that sights... no, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any HPA stuff in a while, not since... I don't remember the last time I saw anything HPA. Project to sketch. That one. I think I'm just going to make them the same height and have done with it. Yeah.
So what all are you designing?
Sights.
What?
Sights. Repeat the question.
You're cutting out, but I think what all are you designing?
In this is now the front sight.
Oh no, I mean like just in general.
Stuff for the worker hierarchy. It's in the title of the live stream.
No, I mean like what parts are you planning to design?
Well, there's.
I mean, so far you've done
down here
trigger...
at the bottom of the screen. There's some spoiler warnings for the parts I haven't got to yet. Although I probably won't get to it all in this stream.
Gotcha. At some point, I have to go do things that are productive because I leave
Well, I'm not going to be here for very much longer, I
whatever that-
think, because I've been going for well over an hour. I'll probably get to the 2 hours and then stop. Great. Project. Why is that lower than... Oh, right. Of course it is. No, that needs to be the same height. Project. You and you. Let's move the front sight so that it's in front of the rear sight and take a sight picture. Haha. Oh yeah. I've made a silly mistake. I've made an embarrassingly silly mistake. When looking through the sights correctly, you can't see the dot on the front sight because I made everything too low. So let's get rid of that. And think again about where that dot should be. And it should be along this line. Hey, Homely, how you doing? That's much better. So now we can take a sight picture and actually see all of the dots. So these sites will require you to cut out just where the stem is in the top of the shell. Planning paperwork. That sounds fun. And by fun,
I gotta admit,
fun
that
I
looks
mean
great.
not fun. That looks gravy? Gravy?
What are the they look like modeling artifacts on the front of the, or on the back of the front iron sight.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are. There's also these from the circle I drew on to mark the original dots. So yeah, I've no idea how to get rid of those. Like, even if I go to the sketch that they're in and try and delete them, I can't even select them or use them. And if I delete, like, there's no sketches left, so they shouldn't exist, but they do.
And it's all on the same plane too, so yeah.
What I can do is pull this by a tiny amount, and then that happens, and they all kind of join up. Which is actually the same principle as how I managed to get the fillets on the backstrap piece.
Oh my god, man.
Welcome to my world. Right, so sights done, front and rear sights. The trigger piece replacement and the backstrap are done. So let's go on to something a little bit easier, because I'm copying something that already exists, and that is the battery door. So my plan for this is to make a ring piece, sort of, that fits onto the grip, and then for that to just be a mount for a battery compartment extension, sort of in a similar way to how I did my Rapid Red. Actually thinking about it, so I'm just replacing the original battery door with a bracket so that I can then also design a box that screws onto the top, kind of like
I gotta run my didgeridoo.
Alright, see you later, Alice. Thanks for helping and annoying.
I would say more annoying than helping, but you're welcome anytime.
Bye bye. So to start with, that's fairly simple, because I can just copy the original battery door and then cut a hole in it, which is exactly what I plan to do. And given that we know that the profile of the grip is a rectangle with some easy fillets, it's a fairly simple shape to make to start with. 31 by 46. So the fillets are actually different at the front and back, so I'm going to have to remember which way around I do it. I think the front was... No, the back was 7, because we did the back strap, so we know the back is 7. The front, on the other hand, is 10 millimeters. What? That's not what I wanted. So now I need to work out how to fillet that, which should just be a case of selecting that and then along that line, and then also specifically through that point, and deleting everything else. That works. Let's fill out the bottom as well, which is 7, so 3.5 each way. Okay. So we sort of don't need to worry about any of the other pieces yet. So let's build the rails that the battery door fits on with. That's an annoying number. Why is that? 24.6. Ah, because this is 25. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So if that's 25, let's make it 24 for this piece, just to make sure there's enough clearance. So half of 24 then becomes 12. And from the front, they start and equally odd. Yeah, that's right. 8.5 millimeters. Because of course that makes sense. So from there, yeah, I can draw that back all of the way off of the part. Yep, that'll do it. How do I measure inside that tiny, tiny recess? It looks like it's 1.5. So if I raise those up by 1.675. So there's enough clearance. Because then after that, it's just the... Oh, does that have to be angled? It does. Ah, you angled that. Why did you do that? It's 0.8. No, it's 1.2 millimeters out. Okay. So then I cut this by 1. Yeah, that works. And it even looks remotely correct. So then I can quite easily offset all of the outer surfaces. I may have to measure my battery to make sure it actually fits through that. So that becomes the new base piece. I need to draw on the clip here. This comes the new base piece. Then the extension goes on over the top, so long as you're using a battery that is sort of that size. 28mm, that's not a great size. Yeah, I guess that's kind of most of the shape, most of the size of the grip anyway, so shouldn't hope for too much more than that. Right, let's build up the rear ring. So we've got a stop at, looks like 11mm. Yeah, it's right. Neatly 11mm. So if I make an offset, 11mm. So everything on the side can come up to that. And I think even at that point, yeah, so we don't need to worry about the rail because the rail doesn't go beyond that. What on? Okay, what's the best way to deal with you? Huh, that works. Does it work for the other one as well? Oh, don't do that to me. There we go. Good. Right. Those kind of overextended artifact things get very annoying sometimes. Right, so I need an outer ring. This tool. which completes the grip. Then we have the clip itself. So the original clip goes over that peg. So almost like I just want to have just a tab in the right place. See, on this, these slots mean that this whole part here bends and forms a kind of a plastic spring. Kind of those two slots means that the centerpiece springs out slightly, even just that much, and that's enough to make the catch for the battery door. But I'm trying to use that space to fit a battery through this part, so I can't do it in the same way. With a battery inside it, this is not going to shift very much at all, if at all. So possibly even having a more solid clip that's harder to get on or off will be fine, because this part isn't going to be coming on or off regularly for changing the battery. This part's only ever going to come out if you need to take the whole pistol apart. Okay. I'm going to go with that assumption and make a slightly lower profile tab to what's in here, because it's not going to spring, so it needs to be lower so that it will actually fit over the tab in the grip. How tall is it in this? No. More specifically, how far lower is it than the... Because it's 1.5 mil down, and the tab is 2.5, so it has to move by 1 millimeter. So if I cut that by half and have 0.5 millimeter of movement and just kind of force it over, it's not an elegant way of doing it, but it will work. Better. How wide is it? Good question. 10 millimeters. So I make it 5 in each direction, which suspiciously is exactly what I chose. It's almost like metric works really nicely and you don't need to think too hard. It's probably why I'm actually able to do it. Right, so the original height of this clip is 1.5. So I hear you muttering there, Homely. I hear you muttering there with your 200 years out of date system. Look, I was trained as an engineer, not an archaeologist. I can't do Imperial. How's that? That works? So from here, I kind of need to measure my battery itself. Good. Good. They can like do some engineering outside of the United States. I say that, but all of the roads over here are miles per hour, and our milk is sold in pints. So it's. Although saying that, for any food stuff, it's illegal to not have the metric equivalent on the package as well. So while it will say 4 pints, it will say 4 pints, which is 2.2738 whatever it is liters. I have actually no idea if that's correct because I don't pay attention to such things. Anyway, I have been going for well over 2 hours. I think I've earned a drink. So I will leave it there for the moment. And next time I come to do a live stream, I will make the mag carrier and holster and maybe some other parts. Exactly. How many inches in a furlong? Who knows? I could even just extend this down. And then build a cap over the top, which would mean a much shorter screw. That's the problem I came into with the Rapid Red. My original battery door design, the screw fits into the original nut for the original battery door, which means that having an extended battery door means that I need... That's my screw for the battery door of this thing. It is absurdly long. Given that a Strife battery door is an M3 by 12, this is an M3 by 70. 70mm long screw for that battery door. Yeah, so what I'll probably do is learn from my mistake and extend... I'll measure the battery, which I don't have with me now, but I'll extend this out by, I don't know, maybe it's going to be about 30. And then have the door go over the top. Which is a much more sensible way of doing it than the way I did it for this. Or if I had split it down the middle and then have this... No, that's a terrible idea. That's just going to be horribly... Yeah, I'm not doing that. I was considering splitting this top to bottom, or well, front and back, split it down like this. Then to change the battery, you just take the back half off, but then the front half will just be wobbling around and it won't be secure. And even when you put this on, the bottom of this is going to flex out. So yeah, not great. Let's not do that. Otherwise, yeah, I'll measure the battery, then I'll come back and work out the battery door that I want to use with it. So today I have made the backstrap filling pieces. Hi Paul. I am literally right now going through this is what I've done in the live stream. Thanks for watching. See you next time. But what I've managed to do so far, this, which is kind of odd because I've split it for printing, is the equivalent of this piece on the 1911. So I've just built it to have a bump, because on the Worker Hurricane, at the back of the grip here, there is a hole, kind of a gap, and so the grip moves forwards and backwards. Whereas on the 1911, for example, it doesn't, because it has that extra bump there that fits the hand much better. So this first piece is that bump to fill out the back strap into the palm of your hand. The second part was the replacement trigger. So this moves the trigger, the surface of the trigger further forwards, which is something I keep on doing because I can't help myself. This is one of the most important things for me, is having that nice trigger pull. I've also made some sights. So these just, you cut a small hole into the top here and here, and that's where that peg goes. This bar goes on the inside, and these are the sights that go on the top. And finally, this is the replacement for the battery door. So this will clip onto the bottom of the grip, give you much more battery space. And I'm going to measure up my battery and work out how long I want it to be before I design the new battery door, which will go on the end of this to seal it up. And I didn't get time to go through the mag carrier, magazine pouch, and the holster, but I will do that sometime soon, possibly during the week, possibly next week. Depends on where it goes. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching, and see you next time.